Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope everybody is happy and healthy and doing the best that they can in these crazy times. Today's video is going to be a little different. I recently have received some news about my health that I think is very important to talk about. In the past couple of weeks, I was hospitalized and diagnosed with cancer. Now, this news was extremely shocking to me. I'm a 26-year-old woman. Other than the cancer that I have, I am very healthy. So, yes, the C word was one of the last things I was expecting when going to the doctor and having my blood work done. But here we are. This is where life has taken me. I really wanted to speak on it. I really want to go into detail about it because when I was in the hospital, I did a lot of research on the type of cancer they said that I had. And I came upon a lot of videos of other people who were my age going through this experience, and they documented their journey, and I found it extremely helpful for me and my mind and my peace of mind, and seeing their journey from beginning to end to after. And I really wanted to contribute to that community as well. Something like cancer is life changing. You hear that word and you're told that you have it, and your whole life feels like it's being turned upside down, which it is. But I really wanted to talk about the opportunity here for people who are going through cancer. Yes, it is a terrible thing. It's devastating to not only yourself, but to your loved ones around you. And that is something I wasn't expecting. The impact that it had on my loved ones was pretty overwhelming. But before I get into all of that, I really want to touch on the symptoms that I experienced beforehand that made me realize, like, hey, something is wrong. Something isn't right. My body is weird right now, and I know that something is wrong, and I need to go get some medical help. So I don't know where to begin, because a lot of my friends and family can tell you that I've always been having like weird shit go on with my body for the past couple of years, and I kind of just brushed it off, or I ignored it, and stuff like that, until this past couple of months where it got so severe where I was like, okay, I can't ignore this anymore. But some of the things that I did experience that are now I know are connected to the cancer that I have were body rashes. I went through a period of time where my whole body broke out in a weird, itchy, dry, eczema-like rash, and I had no idea why it was doing that. I lathered my skin in lotion, and eventually it went away. It did take a while, but it went away. Another thing, chest pains. I would get really severe chest pains. It worried me because I'm like, oh, like, why am I having chest pains? Am I having a heart attack right now? Like, I'm too young to be having a heart attack. And it made me change up my diet. It made me think that, oh, like high cholesterol, diabetes, high blood pressure runs in my family. So let me stop eating red meats. Let me cut down on my sugars and salt intake. And eventually I didn't have chest pains, and I just thought, okay, that's what it was. Didn't think any more of it. Um, which, please, if you're ever having chest pains, immediately go see a doctor. That is always a serious situation. Please do not ignore that. Other symptoms I had a huge lump on my throat uh, for a long time that caused me a lot of pain. I would always, like, it was there for a couple of weeks, honestly, and it hurt to eat, it hurt to drink. My whole throat was swollen. I went and got some antibiotics. It went away. I thought it was done with. All these things were connected to my cancer. And these are things I was experiencing years ago, months and years ago, leading up to now. And it's insane how I totally just ignored it. And I feel dumb. I feel very dumb, that I took my health for granted that like that. So that's something I really wanted to speak on. Please don't be dumb like me. Please go see a doctor if you're experiencing any kind of weird, abnormal things going on with your body. You know your body best. When I started to have severe symptoms, it started around the beginning of April. And this is when COVID was first spreading all over the country and everything was getting shut down, hospitals, schools, everything was getting shut down. So I started to experience very severe symptoms such as itching all over my body. My skin was extremely sensitive to fabrics, to anything that would touch my skin. I would just get itchy all of a sudden. It was like I had a breakout of hives underneath my skin, and I just couldn't relieve the itch. I would literally sleep naked on like soft, fluffy blankets, just to be able to get a good night's sleep because it was unbearable, and it was every single day. I couldn't wear any kind of like I couldn't wear anything that wasn't cotton, that wasn't like some kind of soft satiny um fabric. I was so miserable for so long, and I suffered from insomnia because of it, because I just couldn't sleep. Another severe symptom that I experienced was night sweats. I'd wake up drenched in my own sweat every single morning, and I would wake up in the middle of the night drenched in sweat. And it didn't matter how much sleep I got, I was always extremely tired. I felt just so achy. I felt like crap. I still continued to go to work. I still continued to try to live a normal life. And I'm like, man, like, what is going on? Like, I don't know what's happening. And when these symptoms started to arise and it became unbearable, I did try to go in and see a doctor. But because of COVID, I couldn't get into anywhere. They weren't taking anybody unless it was an emergency, such as you having respiratory issues because of COVID. So nobody would take me. So I had to deal with these symptoms, for months, up until recently, which I went into the hospital May 31st. So I suffered from the beginning of April up to the end of May, to finally be able to go and see a doctor. And I went to a few doctors and I went to a few family clinics because I do not have insurance. And that was one thing that I was very concerned about, was going to the hospital and getting a $5,000 bill just for them to tell me, to take, I don't know, Tylenol, because that has happened before where I've gone to the doctor, they've charged me a crap ton of money just to tell me I'm fine, and that, take some Tylenol, and if it keeps happening, come back. And that was a big issue for me because I didn't have insurance. I didn't want to go to the ER. I didn't want to go to the doctor. I honestly did feel like doctors were a scam. And I know a lot of people feel that way. So I went to a doctor and I told him all my symptoms. He literally looked at me, said, "Oh, you have a lot of problems, but there's nothing we can do for you here." He literally spent 4 minutes with me saying, "Ooh, that's interesting. That's weird. Well, there's nothing we can do for you." But he still took my money. So that was very disheartening because I'm like, I know something is wrong. I know something is going on with me. So where can I go to get help? and I didn't know where to go. So I went another week or so suffering. I continued to go to work. I tried my best not to complain. My coworkers knew, like they could tell all over, like all over my face, the way I came into work and how like tired I was. Oh, another huge symptom was weight loss, unintentional weight loss. I lost about 17 pounds in a span of 2.5 to 3 months without dieting, without exercising. The weight just dropped off of me, and it was something that was extremely noticeable to my friends, family, and coworkers. My boss even tried to ask me if I had an eating disorder, which, I'm like, no, like I'm eating fine. I eat just fine. I eat what I want when I want. But the weight just kept falling off of me. So that was a huge sign as well. And I remember telling my mom, like, Mom, like, I'm losing a lot of weight. Like, this is weird. Something's up. So, yeah, so I would tell my mom all the time that, like, hey, like, I don't feel good. And she'd be like, well, you need to go to the doctor. But her knowing I don't have insurance and her also feeling kind of skeptical about doctors, kind of just like reinstilled that, maybe it'll go away. Maybe whatever is going on is will go away soon. All of these symptoms happening at once just became completely unbearable for me. I couldn't do anything. I felt so crappy. I didn't want to go to work. I love working. I love my job, and it got to a point where I'm like, man, I don't want to be here. I want to go home. I can't wait to go home. I would, just try to get my work done as quickly as possible, just so I can run out the door, go home, and go to bed because I felt that bad. It wasn't until my boss and my manager were actually going to suspend me because they didn't know what was going on with me. I didn't tell them. I would come into work looking like crap. I'm a hairdresser. Like, usually when I'm feeling good, I come in with my hair and makeup done, my outfit on point. Like, I'm there looking good so I can make other people look good as well. And lately, they noticed that I've been coming in, no makeup, my hair up in a bun or a ponytail. I was very quiet, just very disconnected from my clients, which isn't like me. So because I wasn't telling them what was going on with me, they had no clue. So they just thought I was slacking off and they were going to suspend me. And it wasn't until I told them, like, I'm not feeling good. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I don't feel good. And they encouraged me to take the week off and go to a doctor, which my manager recommended a facility to me, which I thank her so much for. So when I went to this facility, I told them what was going on and I said I need blood work done because something is up. The nurse practitioner came in and she told me straight up, she's like, something's wrong here. These numbers are extremely abnormal. And she showed me my white cell blood count was double of what a normal person was. My platelets were double of what a normal person was. And she told me these are numbers consistent with a cancer patient. And when she said that, my heart dropped. And my mom was there. So my mom got very emotional as well. And she's like, I don't want to say you have cancer, but these are numbers of a cancer leukemia patient. And usually somebody with these numbers are laid out, not walking around like you are. She's like, so I encourage you to go to the ER where they can do more extensive work, more extensive tests to figure out exactly what is going on. And she literally told me, prove me wrong. Go to the ER and prove me wrong because these numbers are not right. And if it wasn't for that, I would probably still be home wondering what the hell was up with me, wondering what was wrong. So that same day, after that blood work, I went straight to the ER, and my mom wasn't allowed to come with me. So I went to the ER by myself. I told them what that nurse practitioner had told me. And of course, them seeing a young woman who on the outside looks healthy and looks fine, they were quick to be like, they told you you had cancer? okay, they were quick to be like very skeptical and like, what? Like, why would they tell you you have cancer? Like, that's not cool. And I was like, I don't know, but I need more work done. This is my paperwork. Take me seriously because something isn't right. And I asked, and like, I'm like, you need to take me seriously because they were so quick to kind of brush it off and be like, you don't have cancer. Oh, come on. Like, I can't believe they told you that. So, of course, they went and did my blood work. Then the doctor issued a CT scan on my chest after seeing my numbers because they were very abnormal. That's when I waited in the ER room for like about it felt like forever. And a doctor came in and I could tell right away on his face that he was very concerned. He had a very serious look on his face. He wanted to admit me because he did find a mass in my chest that shouldn't be there. And he said that it was a very large mass and he was concerned that it could be cancer. And at that moment, it felt like my whole world shattered into pieces. Being in that hospital room by myself with these strangers telling me that I had cancer. It was overwhelming. And the first thing I wanted to do was scream. I just wanted to scream. The first thing I told my mom was, please don't tell anybody. I didn't want anybody else knowing what was going on with me until I knew for sure what this was because the last thing I want is for people to worry. I didn't want people to worry about me. So I didn't want to tell anybody. So that is everything that happened up to my hospitalization. So I'm going to get into all the tests that they ran on me and also my diagnosis. So after being admitted into the hospital, they proceeded to do a lot of tests and biopsies. So the first thing they did was did a CAT scan of my chest. So from there, they were able to see that I did have a very large mass on the left side of my chest. And it was something that covered literally this whole area. I got a glimpse of it in the x-ray and it freaked me the hell out because I was like, I can't believe that that is what's happening in my body right now. They explained to me that my heart is, where my heart is located is covered in a bag, and then there's a compartment between the bag where my heart is and my lung, and the mass is in between that compartment and then laying over my lung. They weren't sure how long it's been there, but by the size of it, one doctor said that he can guess it's been growing for years. So who knows how long this has been going on in my body. But based on all the things that I've dealt with in the past, it leads me to believe that this has been going on for a very long time. After they did the CAT scan, they went ahead and issued 2 biopsies. They did a biopsy on the mass, so that consisted of them putting a needle through my chest to extract samples of the mass in order to do tests on it and see what it was. The next was a bone marrow biopsy, which they did in my lower back above my butt, and they took bone marrow as well as a piece of bone. I was awake for both of those biopsies. They did give me like general anesthesia and some numbing and all that. The needle in my chest, it was weird because I could feel it moving around in my chest. I could feel it, but it wasn't painful. The doctor went in, he put the needle in my chest, and then when he was taking samples, I was awake, and he's like, you're gonna hear a loud popping sound. And it was just 5 pops, like pop, pop. And that was him extracting the samples from the needle. The bone marrow biopsy was intense. I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. It was, even though it was very quick, it was very painful. So they literally go in, extract bone marrow, and then you can hear a drill going into your back where he is taking a piece of the bone. And when he's drilling and taking that piece of bone, some very painful 3-4 seconds right there. It was very painful, but it was quick. So if you've ever experienced that, you know what I'm talking about. And luckily, once they extract a piece of your bone and bone marrow, they don't have to do it again. So, woo, I won't ever have to go through that again. Thank God. After they did that, I was sent back to my room where I had to wait the results of those biopsies. And they told me it would be about 1 to 2 days. In that time, I was coughing a lot. My cough, I did have a lot of phlegm, a lot of mucus coming up, and it was very thick, yellow, orangish color. It was gross, and I still actually do have a little bit of that. So, because I was experiencing that, they needed samples of that mucus because they wanted to make sure I didn't have tuberculosis. So, for about 2 days, they put me in isolation. They put a big ass tent over my bed, an air vacuum thing that cleansed the air in my room, and everybody who came in had to be completely covered just in case I did have tuberculosis because it's highly contagious. So for 2 days, I was in high isolation from the world. So that was interesting. But of course, that came back negative. I did not have tuberculosis. The cough and the phlegm were a result of the mass in my chest laying on top of my lung and blocking my airway and congesting me and all of that stuff. I had my biopsies done, I believe, on Monday. Yes, I had it done on Monday. I was admitted Sunday. I had them done Monday. My diagnosis came on Thursday. And let me tell you, those 3 days of waiting, of trying to wait in that room by myself with no visitors and just nurses coming in and out, taking my blood, taking my vitals every hour. And it was excruciating. It was not a good time for my mental health. I didn't tell anybody that I was in the hospital until that Thursday when I got my diagnosis, which I don't recommend. One thing that I learned is that the more support and love you have while you're in the hospital, the better. I personally am somebody who doesn't like to have a lot of sympathy thrown at me. I don't like people to feel sorry for me, and I hate when people worry about me. So I didn't want to tell anybody. Of course, my mom knew, and then the next day I told my dad because, of course, you know those are my parents. But I told him not to tell anybody, and then the day after I told my best friend, I told two of my best friends what was going on. And then I waited until Thursday, which was the day that they diagnosed me, to go ahead and let the rest of my family and friends know. So when they came back with the results, they had already told me what they thought it was. And they told me that it's most likely Hodgkin's lymphoma, which it was confirmed that yes, it is Hodgkin's lymphoma. So, yes, it was confirmed that I have cancer. Luckily, Hodgkin's lymphoma is a highly treatable cancer, and the doctors assured me that I was young and otherwise healthy and that I would make it through no problem. So I chose to stay in a positive mindset as best as I could. After being told I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, that's when I went into deep research mode. I looked up a bunch of articles. I tried my best to understand exactly what this cancer is and what it attacks. And of course, Hodgkin's lymphoma is a cancer that attacks the lymphatic system, so the lymph nodes in your body, that usually are your throat, your chest, your abdomen, your groin. Those are the places that usually are targeted. Oddly enough, this is a cancer that affects a lot of people my age, early 20s, mid 20s, and I wish I would have known. I was more aware of this happening. Like I could have detected the symptoms sooner, but of course that's why I'm here talking about it now. Who knows what could have happened if I would have found it sooner, but I'm just glad that I found it now, like that I know what's going on now. so that I can go ahead and get the treatment that I need. Cancer isn't an easy thing, and it's very scary to know that you have cancer. I've always heard that chemotherapy is scarier than cancer itself. So that was something that I wanted to do my research on. It's still something that I'm still trying to wrap my head around, because I know that it is going to cause a lot of changes in my life, my appearance wise, emotionally, mentally. It's going to change my whole life. Some things that really shocked me that I wasn't expecting going into chemotherapy that was brought to my attention was the fact that because my body is being put through chemo, I may have issues having children in the future. When the doctor told me that, I immediately started crying because I'm 26, I have 0 children, and although I've never been one to be big on wanting kids, of course I still want that option, and I want to feel secure in the fact that if I wanted to start a family in the future, I could. So having something like that kind of snatched away broke my heart, and I wasn't expecting that at all. That's something that I didn't really hear about in the videos that I watched of other people's testimonies with Hodgkin's lymphoma. I want others to be very aware that if you are diagnosed with cancer and you are a young woman who you want children, to look into your options to getting your eggs frozen, seeing what you can do to boost your reproductive system and make sure that it doesn't, they give you a shot in your butt that stops your periods and stops your reproductive organs from producing eggs. And they tell you all these things that you can do in order to start it back up in hopes of it like going back to normal after chemotherapy. But I honestly think that the best option is to go ahead and get your eggs frozen, just in case you do want children in the future. For me, financially, that wasn't an option for me, and I wanted to get treatment done right away. So I'm just gonna have to pray to God in the future that if I do want children, that's a possibility for me. But that is a huge factor when it comes to chemotherapy. They told me that there were risks of permanent nerve damage with chemotherapy, like tingling in your fingertips and your toes. Of course, hair loss. My hair, me being a hairdresser, my hair is, something that I really love. That is a big part of, who I am. That's honestly the least of my worries, but it is still very overwhelming to think that I'm going to be bald at some point. Like, I'm not going to have any hair on any part of my body. And it's very hard to think about as a woman. Although all of these things are happening to me, I choose to stay in positivity. I choose to believe that this battle that I'm going through is only going to make me a better person, is only going to open my eyes to a much bigger meaning in life. I hope that this experience leads me to other people who can broaden my world, and I get to meet other strong warriors going through this that I'm going through. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for clarity. One of the things that totally changed my life already has been the overwhelming amount of love and support that has been poured over me from friends, family, acquaintances, strangers. I have never felt so much love all at once, and it's very overwhelming. But I'm so grateful for it. And it's something that I will never, ever, ever, ever take for granted, ever, ever again. My health is something I will never take for granted, ever again. And if you are going through something like this, I really want you to know you are not alone. You're never, ever alone. And there's so many people out there that you can reach out to. You don't have to go through this by yourself. You don't have to feel that sorrow and pain by yourself. So I'm speaking to Cancer. Right now, you will not get the best of me. Chemotherapy, you will not get the best of me. I'm a fighter, I'm a warrior. I am not a victim of cancer. I will beat this and I will be a better person for it. And whoever else is going through a similar situation, you hang in there, you fight, because that is the only option. I'm going to continue to vlog my experience throughout all of this. My chemotherapy sessions, the things that I experienced, such as my symptoms with chemotherapy. I want to really try to stay consistent throughout this so I can really see my own progress. This is going to be a bumpy ride, but I am confident that I'm going to come out of this stronger and a better person. I truly do believe that this is just another testimony in my story. And I feel that it's very, very important to share my experience with others. And I want to continue to be an ally to others who are going through the same thing or a similar experience. I want to share this journey with those who may need some reassurance that things are going to be okay. And there is life after cancer for sure. And this is just another bump in the road. I'm going to end it here. I know that there's so much that I wanted to touch on, and I will talk more in depth about certain things in the future. But for now, I'm going to leave it here, and I want to say I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video.
Microdose, heal your soul.